How's it going, everybody? It's the CDH Warrior coming at you with another episode of CDH. We survived this. Now what? So, let's roll the title. So today, as the title suggested, we are going to be talking about digestive issues. So we'll kind of explain and go through what issues children with CDH can have, how that impacts their life as they get older, what we have to watch out for as we get older, what I've personally been through, and I'll touch on some things that I haven't been through personally but have seen in our group, in the group that I'm in, with my nonprofit work. So let's start out. What are some issues that can happen with CDH? Well, gastrointestinal issues. My personal issues. I'm missing a third of my intestinal tract because of a botched repair. Basically, my first repair failed and destroyed my small intestine, and I had to go through and resect what was damaged. So I have some, I don't necessarily know if it's purely CDH related, but I have some digestive issues. I have a lactose allergy. I have a fundoplication. Normally, CDH survivors have issues with reflux. I have the opposite issue. I don't have reflux. I have the issue that if air or anything gets trapped in my stomach, it doesn't come back up. It has to go all the way through my gastrointestinal tract and all the way out the other end as a fart. I'm sorry to be blunt, but that's what happens. So now that we've gotten kind of my personal issues out of it, my personal issues that I deal with, let's talk about some other issues that CDH survivors can have. So this article is from University of California, San Francisco. From Benioff Children's Hospitals, treatment centers. So let's talk about the gastrointestinal issues that are long-term. So, nutritional and oral aversions. So oral aversions can be anything from food that doesn't feel right on the palate, but it's also one you consider you've had an infant on with tubes, with everything else. You'd have a tube here, you'd have a nasal gastric tube, you've got pretty much their first I'll go ahead and say the first probably 3 to 6 months of life, they have no ability to take anything orally. It's all pretty much through a tube. So 2 issues with that. They don't really gain the suck-swallow reflex. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to explain that. But it's also one, they end up with oral aversions from literally not eating for so long. You can also have gastroesophageal reflux. I don't have that issue because I have a fundoplication, but that doesn't make it any better. I think most people have the overwhelming theory that even though I don't reflux, or because I don't reflux, I'm better off. And that's simply not the case. It just comes with its own new set of challenges. Most children with CDH end up on anti-reflux medications for decades, even for the rest of their lives, because of the issues that they go through. Another common issue is, and I'll put these in the video, I'll put these, they'll show up to the side, I believe, to the side with the lamp, as I realize there are 2 lamps in this shot. But it's one, you can have appendicitis and abdominal pain. Because everything was moved into the chest cavity, the intestinal tract can be different from normal. Your appendix, your intestinal tract can be in a different position because everything had to be moved manually. Another frequent issue can be having issues with constipation. Okay, you can have basically an issue where the intestine pulls too much fluid, causing your child to become constipated and not be able to pass stool. This can also cause issues with CDH. In particular, you can have bowel obstructions. From where everything was manipulated and moved back down, you can actually have scar tissue in the intestines. And if that happens, that area has to be resected and then basically stitched back together. The area that was blocked off has to be cut out and then stitched back together. Not the area that was cut out, but just the 2 parts that were cut need to be stitched all the way back together so they actually function. So in regards to that, what have I personally been through? So I have personally been through a fundoplication, the knot in my esophagus to keep me from refluxing. I have a lactose allergy, which means that if I have dairy of any kind, for the most part, there are certain hard cheeses that I can eat, but it's kind of few and far between and very confusing as to which ones I can and cannot eat. I end up with cramps, bloating, a lot of gas. I don't necessarily have diarrhea from it, but I tend to have loose stools if I end up with any lactose in my system. And I mean any. It's funny because I can eat certain cheeses that are basically lactose free. But dairy, cream, something like that ends up cross-contaminated, forget it. I'm not going to function. Since I have the fundoplication, and if you have a food allergy like a lactose allergy or something like that, and you produce a lot of gas, it can't come back. It can't go back up. It has to go all the way through. As for what I've been explaining what I've been through. As for what a lot of others go through, I know there are adults that struggle with reflux and end up having to have a fundoplication done years after the fact. Other issues that we can have related to CDH. And this is considered both a digestive and a not so much a respiratory issue, but related to is we have a hard time gaining weight of any amount. For an example, I'm 28 and I hover right around 120 to 130. 134 is pretty much the max weight that I hit. But it's not from any kind of oral aversion or any kind of issues like that. My issues are from the fact that I literally don't digest certain things. I literally don't get the calories out of what I eat at times. And I have to watch what actually will allow me to maintain calories, gain energy from what I eat. And a lot of people will I've had people suggest, well, TV dinners are really high in calories. The problem for me is a lot of your TV dinners are also full of dairy. And it's hidden dairy. Like, for instance, potatoes. Your mashed potatoes and whatnot are full of cream. I love the Marie Callender's chicken pot pies. the chicken and the beef and that when they would go on sale. No, can't do it. Their gravy is made with dairy. So it makes it hard as an adult to try and sort this out and try and explain it to somebody else. I feel like I'm constantly having to explain myself at times. And their parents get the same thing too. Well, why don't you find something they can eat? That's the hard part. It's finding something that is actually palatable and something that doesn't make us sick. I think society has missed that fact. That it's not always about, well, if they're hungry enough, they'll eat. It's the issues of what we've been through. I mean, it's one. I still, to this day, do not like gelatin. I don't eat Jell-O of any kind. I'll eat the pudding, but that's kind of a whole different issue. But it's one, as far as gelatin, I can't do it. I can't deal with it. So it's not always about, oh, they'll grow out of it, or, oh, they'll do this if they want to. It's not always that simple. Most of this was supposed to be about digestive tract and weight issues. So that was kind of my discussion here. So what else can you do to help yourself gain weight? It's one, for me, I've started working out some. A lot of us have to work out to maintain weight. Not so much maintain because we're gaining it, but maintain because we're losing it, and we're having to build muscle to maintain our weight. And with our stamina issues, we need to figure out how to maintain our physical abilities, so that way the digestive and everything else related to that isn't an issue or as much of an issue. But I think I'm pretty much off topic now. So for the CDH Warrior, I'm Drew Monday, and this has been CDH. We survived this. Now what? Have a great day. I'll see you next week.